Gentlemen, today we're going to be going over weddings and the extra large man here on Big Pretty Man. Hi, and welcome back to Big Pretty Man, a channel for the extra large man who wants to live his life large and in charge. I'm your host, Timothy Big Pretty Crowe. I'm a wardrobe and lifestyle consultant for the extra large man. Okay guys, considering that I did my last few videos on funerals, diets, and death, I thought it was time to do something a little more uplifting, a little more joyous. And therefore I can't think of a more joyous occasion than a wedding. A wedding is a testimony to two people's love. It's a testimony to two families coming together. It's a transition in life. And this is one of the most joyous occasions in anyone's life, is their wedding. And of course, unlike funerals and other social activities I've talked about, a wedding is something to enjoy. It's a wedding is supposed to be celebratory and fun. However, there's a problem there, because people get so casual and so uplifted in the joy, sometimes, far too often, we forget etiquette, and it can turn a wedding into an embarrassment really quick, and maybe even ruin the event. I've seen that happen, and I would know, because over the last nearly 9 years, I have been head of security at the place I work for events. And most of those events have included weddings. And at this point, I have attended or worked for at least 300 or more weddings. And I've seen it all. I've seen them go off perfectly. I've seen them end tragically. I've seen the arguments. I've seen the beauties of love. I've seen it all. And therefore, I really feel a little qualified to talk about the social etiquettes of a wedding, so that when you go to a wedding, you're not the one that people will be talking about forever who kind of spoiled everything. And it can happen. Trust me, I've seen it happen. So one of the first things I want to talk about here is just some basic rules. Other people have talked about them, but I think they need to be reiterated, especially with the weddings I've seen. And we're going to go over a few of those. Now, number one is when you get invited to a wedding, you need to RSVP as soon as possible. The people planning this wedding have put a lot of time and effort and money into this. They need to know how many guests they're going to have, who's showing up. They may need to know this for the catering at the reception, for the chairs, for the capacity of the venue. They need to know. So help them out and decide whether or not you're going to this wedding, and RSVP as soon as you can. That's very important. And while we're on it, if you are going to go to this wedding, another very important thing is be on time. If the wedding says the wedding will be taking place at 4 p.m., please everyone be there by 3:30. Be there by 3:30. Get your seat and be there. Nothing more embarrassing and disruptive than showing up half an hour or 15, 20 minutes after the wedding's already started, and now you're having to stand there and figure out, am I going to get in the seat while the bridesmaids are coming down the aisle? That's embarrassing. You're drawing attention away from the bride and the groom. And really remember this: at a wedding, the bride and the groom are the absolute focal center of attention. It is their day. This is their day to shine, especially with the bride. In our culture, we really emphasize the bride. This is their special moment in life. This is the one that they will remember. They'll videotape. There'll be all the pictures. So don't don't disrupt it from something that you're doing. So be on time. Okay. Now, after you've done the VIP, the other thing to remember is to not bring extra people. This is a big one. If you get an invitation to the wedding, it's expected that you're bringing yourself and a spouse or date, and that's it. Unless it's otherwise specified in the invitation, you and your family, meaning you, your wife, your significant other, and your 2 or 3 kids, unless it specifically says, like for me to say the Crowe family, then then you really don't need to be bringing excess people. And don't ask to bring a friend. That's very rude. It's an honor to be invited to this wedding in the first place. They think that much of you. They want you there on this very special day. This is not a kegger. Don't be asking to bring your buddies with you for a good time. This is not Wedding Crashers. So only bring what's been specified. Usually, if it invites you, you're allowed to bring a guest. A date, and if you have any questions about that, contact the bride or groom about the invitation, or whoever's handling it, and say, I see this invitation. Is it all right if I bring my wife? How about kids? What are you saying about kids? A lot of times in the invitation, they'll tell you whether they want kids or not. If they don't, if it doesn't say, get a babysitter. And also consider all of this beforehand before you accept. If you can't get babysitters, or if your kid is wild as a buck, going to run all over the place and scream through the whole wedding, just politely decline. Tell them why, in a nice email or letter, and maybe send an appropriate gift. Now the next thing, of course, if you're going to go to the wedding, you need to dress properly. Now, this can be a little tricky because when you at a wedding, the one thing, once again, you don't want to do is outshine the bride and groom. This is their day, so be careful in what you're wearing. Now, I've said this before in another video. What you really need to do is, if it doesn't say in the invitation, if it doesn't say in the invitation, then I would call and verify. If it says, men in suit and ties or in tuxedos, be prepared for that. And if it doesn't specify, then call the bride or call whoever's planning the wedding. They'll tell you. Also, while you're doing that, be sure to ask what the colors are for this wedding, and ask exactly what is the groom wearing. If you're a man, what is the groom wearing? Because one thing you do not want to do is overdress the groom. If, like I've said before, if he's going to be in morning wear and you show up in morning wear and you're the only other person in morning wear, everybody else is either in tuxes or suits, people are going to mistake you for the groom. And if you ever get mistaken for the groom, you've overdressed for this wedding. And you don't want that. So double check. Say, what's the groom wearing? Is he wearing a tux? Okay, if he's wearing a tux, then you wear a suit. Is he wearing morning wear? Okay, then, is a tux okay? Just check. Call and ask and check. Now, and now sometimes there can be a little more of a casual wedding. Now, with a casual wedding, you can still wear a suit. There's nobody saying that you can't. However, if you want to step it down, I'd advise maybe going to more of business casual. When I say business casual, I mean classic business casual. You can put on a nice blazer, with contrasting or complementary pants, a shirt, and a tie. Don't be showing up, in shorts and in a Hawaiian flowery shirt to a wedding, unless they say to wear that at like a beach wedding. It really all depends on what the bride and groom are doing. What's the theme of this wedding? Because if you do show up in a tux to a very casual wedding, you're going to stand out, and you're going to be upstaging both the bride, maybe the groom. Both the groom and the bride. You definitely don't want that. So find out what kind of wedding this is. If it's going to be formal wear, business casual wear, and let that judge. But now I would recommend that even in the most casual wear wedding, it's still acceptable to wear a blazer, a tie, and a dress shirt, and a pair of dress pants and nice shoes. That's always going to be acceptable. If you really want to go casual, throw out the tie. If it's that casual, deep summer, that type of thing, and it's going to be outside, and they say wear casual wear, you can still go in business casual. That is casual. Okay. Now, the next thing I would say is that if you're going to get a gift for this wedding, which is traditional, then go by the registry. Do not just decide to go off on your own and get them something. And don't get them something handmade or something like that, or God forbid, something used. That's cheap. Go on the registry and look for something that you can get them. And if this is like a little too much for your budget, then I would recommend sending money. Giving money. Money is definitely, when new people starting a new life, money's going to be handy. Trust me. So, you can judge that. Now, how much should you spend? It really matters on the culture and the group and the class of people, what economic level they are. But by a general rule, I would go either $50 per person or $100 for the couple, minimum. That's the minimum you want to give. I think that's respectable. It's not too much. I mean, if you want to give more, that's fine. But a minimum of $100 for the couple, $50 for each. But do not go off on your own and get a separate gift that's not on the registry. That's not what they're asking for. That's not what they want in their gifts. That's why they have a registry. Go by the registry or give cash. Okay? It's the best way to handle that. You can't never go wrong with cash. Now, the next thing I want to talk about here is when you're actually at the wedding and the attitude you should take. Hey, unlike a funeral, like where I talked about before, you have to say solemn and somber and, and respectful. Well, this is a wedding. Enjoy yourself. Relax and enjoy yourself. Have a few drinks. Get up, laugh and talk, at the reception. Get up and dance, have a good time. This is the place for it. But always remember to stay respectful. And always remember it's about the bride and groom and not about you. So, don't go too far. Stay, don't be bringing up things that, are embarrassing stories about the bride and groom. That's really inappropriate here. This is not the day for that. Or the sex life or date life of either one. I don't care how well you know them. Nobody's wanting to hear that today. It's going to make people uncomfortable. Don't get overly loud and make a jerk out of yourself, which brings me to the next rule. Don't drink too much. You're at a wedding. Yes, enjoy yourself. Maybe get yourself a little bit of a buzz going. Get a little tight, as we used to say. But don't get drunk. A lot, and I see this one a lot at weddings. People are having such a good time, and there's a free bar. That's just wide open for everybody to get just smashed. And people are just hitting the bar and just bam, 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 champagne, wine, beer, just bam, bam, bam. They're throwing it down, getting mixed drinks, throwing it down. Be a little careful. You can actually unintentionally get yourself inebriated. When you're having a good time and you're laughing, your adrenaline's up, you're dancing, you're running around, backslapping, having a good time, and you're drinking, well, your adrenaline's up, so you're not really feeling the effects yet. And it's really, a lot of times you'll be paying attention how many you're drinking. Next thing you know, you're like 6-7 beers in or 4 or 5 drinks in, and now you're drunk at the wedding. And you do not get drunk. I mean, just nasty drunk at a wedding. I've seen that way too much. You want to talk about ruining someone's special day really quick? That'll do it. We lose a lot of our, already having fun, your adrenaline's up, and now you're drunk. I've seen a lot of weddings go wrong by that. I don't know how many times me in the profession have been asked by the bride and groom to escort somebody out, get them out of the wedding. That's going to be embarrassing to you. That's going to be embarrassing to your date. To be kicked out of a wedding of a friend, that's bad. If you're making that much of an ass of yourself, that's embarrassing to the bride and groom. That's embarrassing to your date, and that's embarrassing to yourself. Have some dignity, and just be careful about drinking. Set a limit for yourself. Where most people that drink know their limit, know their know their spot. For me, it would probably be maybe 3 beers or 2 strong drinks. Within an hour. I'm not going to go over that. I'm going to get feeling a little bit good, but but by the time I leave, I'm going to be sober. I know I'm not trying to be, a party pooper here, but there's no bigger party pooper than somebody getting dog drunk at a wedding and acting like an asshole. Okay, just flat and simple. So don't get too drunk. Now, you may have noticed that running through all of these rules I'm giving on etiquette, I'm giving about a wedding, there's one central theme, and that is, and I'm going to emphasize it again, don't make yourself the center of attention. Remember, the center of attention is the bride, then the groom. That's the way it goes. This is their day. This is their special day, not your special day. You want your special day, you get married. you go to the wedding. You have your own wedding. But not at this affair. At this fair, it is you're their center of attention. So watch, how much you throw out there. Keep the drama to yourself. Don't get overly loud. Don't draw attention away from the bride and groom. If all eyes are on you, except for maybe on the dance floor for a few minutes when you're acting, when you're dancing goofy or really getting down or something like that, But if everyone's looking at you throughout the whole thing, you're drawing attention away, drawing all the attention, then you're messed up. So, have fun, but don't try to be the center of attention. Make them the center of attention. Now, the other thing I was going to say about weddings is about when you leave. Number one, do not leave a wedding too early. That's rude. These people are prepared. If it's a fully catered reception, then they have a plate coming out for you and your date. They went to the trouble of inviting you. It's really rude to be like, just as soon as they get married, say, well, we got to go. Or just going to the reception and, no more than you get there and you eat, you immediately leave. It's like that looks like you're just trying to get in for a free meal. Maybe you are. But if you are, try to pretend like you're not at least, or don't let it be so obvious. So, if you are invited to the wedding, stay for the ceremony. After the ceremony, of course, congratulate the bride and groom. There's usually a line for this for people, at the reception. And then go to the reception. Have your meal. Set that time aside. If you can't set the time aside to do this, don't go. Don't, let them know you cannot RSVP. Let them know that you're not going to be attending. It's better to do that than to end up looking rude or or disinterested, which is disrespectful. So, as I said, sit through the wedding, congratulate the bride and groom, sit for your dinner, and then what I would usually say is that so when can I leave? Be a question. I would say anytime after the father and daughter dance, and the cutting of the cake and the dancing of the father and daughter dance, and the bride and groom's first dance. Once those are done, bride and groom, bride and father of the bride dance, maybe the groom and his mother's dance, and then after the couple's first dance. After that point, I think you're okay to step out. You applaud them, you thank them. You've been through the whole main thing. If you're not up to sitting around drinking and you're not a dancer and you won't or you have something I'm ready to get out of here, I think that at that point leaving is actually better than just sitting like a wallflower, just sitting like a log and sitting there through this thing drinking, disinterested. After the dancing, the formal dances are done, and after the bride and groom have their first dance, I think at that point you can slip out. But before you leave, be sure to once again go over. Let them know go to sit with the bride and groom. Let them know you're leaving. Tell them what a wonderful time you've had, even if you're lying. Wish them the best of luck. Give hugs and kisses and handshakes, and then you can step out. They're going to thank you for coming, and they're going to remember that you was there through the whole thing. You didn't, just go to the wedding and leave straight out, or eat your meal and dash out the door. Things like that will be remembered by the couple and their family. Trust me. And now the last thing I'm going to say, and this comes from experience, and I'm saying this for the people that work weddings, for the caterers, the wedding planners, the janitorial crew, the security of these events. This is for them, and something that's not normally said. Just like you arrived on time, leave on time. If that wedding says this wedding is going to be from 6 until 11, at 11 o'clock, be going out the door. You don't care how good a time you've had. Wish you'd see the party going on. All of that. That's if you're at the venue and it says 11 o'clock, by 11 o'clock, be going out that door. Don't be going to the bar and asking for, come on, one more, because now they're closed. Usually the bar will close down a few minutes before then, or half an hour before. Don't be going begging for one more drink, one more for the road. No, please leave. Because here's the thing. This is being considerate of the people that were working this wedding. For the wedding planners, for the caterers, for the security, for the people who have to clean up. Here's the thing you got to remember. Whenever that wedding ends, these people are going to be tired. They've probably been doing this all day. If it was a wedding that started at 6, I guarantee you they've been sitting up since at least 2:30 or 3 o'clock. And now it's up into the night. It's 11 o'clock. They've been working. The caterers have been running back and forth. The cooks have been running back and forth. The security's having to keep an eye on everything. They're wanting to go home. It's over. They want to go home. And you got to realize that even after this wedding, they got to do a cleanup. Tables got to be put away. Dishes have got to be taken up. Custodial crew's got to come in and clean up. Security's got to get everybody out and secure the building. So they're looking at least another hour or more to get all this done. Band's got to pack up and all of that. So show some courtesy and consideration and appreciation for the good time that you've had at this wedding, that these people have provided, and leave on time. Let them go get their job done so they can go home. They're tired. They want to go home. And the longer you're staying, I know you're having a good time, but think a minute. Think put yourself in their shoes. Do unto others as you have done unto you. They've been on your feet since 3 o'clock. It's 11 o'clock. You got another hour to go once they leave, and the people at the wedding are postponing that. So when the wedding is over, whatever it says on the invitation, be out the door at that time. Help that event out. And not only that, kind of encourage your friends. Say, hey, they're closed. The event's over. We really need to head out. Come on, you go with me. Let's go say goodbye. Get your friends to go with. Kind of get the wave going, and leave. Trust me, there's nothing worse than overstaying your welcome, overstaying what you've paid for and what the bride and groom have paid for, and having to be asked to leave or even escorted out. I'm the guy that's had to do that far too many times. And, that's embarrassing the bride and groom. That's embarrassing to their families. This is a sour note at the very end. Don't be the source of that. At the end of the wedding, just like you got there on time, leave on time. Show some consideration. And be sure also, not just to thank the bride and groom for inviting you, but on your way out, thank the bartender. Thank your waiter. If you know who the wedding planner is, go thank them. Say, I had a wonderful time. You did such a great job in here. Go to the security and be like, hey, you guys have been great. That is really appreciated. That makes people feel like they're doing their job well. And that's always a plus. So, once again, just remain respectful of the site, remain respectful of the bride and groom's family, and arrive and leave on time. Well, that's all I've got on weddings and wedding etiquette. Basically, just remember to have common sense, to be a gentleman, and to be considerate. Be considerate and respectful of the bride and the groom, of their families, and also of the venue itself and those running it. Whether it be the wedding planner, the catering, the janitorial, the security. Be kind, be considerate, and be a gentleman. And you'll do just fine. And you know what? If you're enjoying these videos of mine, then please, if you haven't already, go down and hit that little King Henry with my pretty face, and, subscribe. I'd love to have you on board. And, leave me a like and leave me a comment. Tell me about some good wedding experiences you've had or bad wedding experiences you've had. Trust me, we can swap stories. I love to hear from my subscribers and fans. So if you haven't come on board, come on board. and you know what? So go out to that funeral, dress to the nines, be a gentleman, and even though you don't want to upstage the groom or the bride, you stay pretty.